A large-scale military operation unfolded overnight as United States forces, operating in coordination with units stationed in Israel, launched a series of precision strikes targeting approximately 30 fortified Iranian defensive positions along a highly sensitive border region. According to early field reports, the assault began just before dawn, utilizing a combination of air power, long-range artillery, and advanced surveillance systems. The targeted sites were believed to function as logistical shelters, weapons storage facilities, and strategic outposts used to reinforce Iran's regional military presence. Eyewitnesses in nearby described a sequence of loud explosions followed by sustained aerial activity. The sky lit up repeatedly. It didn't stop for several minutes, said one local resident who requested anonymity due to security concerns. Military officials have not disclosed the exact location of the strikes but confirmed that the operation was executed with high precision and minimal collateral damage. A spokesperson stated that the objective was to neutralize emerging threats and disrupt hostile infrastructure before escalation could occur. Sources within defense circles suggest that the operation had been in preparation for several days, following increased intelligence indicating heightened movement and coordination among Iranian-backed units in the area. Satellite imagery reportedly revealed unusual activity near fortified zones, prompting urgent strategic discussions between U.S. and Israeli commanders. While no official casualty figures have been released, preliminary assessments indicate significant structural damage across multiple sites. Emergency response units were seen moving toward impacted shortly after the strikes concluded. The Iranian government has yet to issue a full statement, though state-affiliated media described the incident as a provocative act and warned of serious consequences. Meanwhile, regional tensions have sharply intensified, with neighboring countries closely monitoring the situation amid fears of broader escalation. Security analysts note that this operation marks one of the most extensive coordinated strike efforts in recent months, signaling a shift toward more direct engagement in response to perceived threats in the region. From a tactical perspective, targeting 30 defensive positions in a single coordinated assault demonstrates a high level of intelligence accuracy and operational synchronization. Such an approach suggests that surveillance assets ranging from satellites to on-ground informants had been actively monitoring Iranian-linked movements. For an extended period, the selection of targets indicates a focus on infrastructure critical to sustaining forward operations rather than symbolic or civilian-adjacent locations. The use of Israel as a staging ground adds another layer of strategic depth. Geographically, it allows faster response times and improved strike precision due to proximity. Politically, it reinforces the long-standing military cooperation between Washington and Tel Aviv, while simultaneously sending a clear signal to Tehran that joint operations can be executed without hesitation when shared interests are threatened. Another key dimension lies in timing. The strike reportedly followed increased activity among Iranian-backed units, which may have been interpreted as preparation for a broader offensive or reinforcement effort. By acting preemptively, U.S. forces likely aimed to disrupt momentum before those assets could be mobilized effectively. This reflects a doctrine centered on prevention rather than retaliation, emphasizing control over escalation dynamics. However, such actions carry significant risks. Iran has historically relied on asymmetric responses, often avoiding direct confrontation while leveraging allied groups across the region. This raises the possibility of indirect retaliation through proxy forces, cyber operations, or strategic disruptions targeting U.S. or allied interests. Beyond the immediate conflict zone, the absence of an immediate full-scale response should not be interpreted as de-escalation, but rather as a period of recalibration. The psychological impact is equally important. Demonstrating the capability to strike multiple fortified sites in a short time frame can alter perceptions of vulnerability among Iranian forces and their regional partners. It reinforces the idea that even well-protected installations are not immune to precision attacks. At the same time, it may harden resolve on the opposing side, increasing the likelihood of future confrontation. Internationally, the operation places additional strain on diplomatic channels. Countries attempting to mediate or maintain neutrality may find it increasingly difficult to balance relations as tensions intensify. Calls for restraint are likely to grow louder, yet their effectiveness will depend heavily on whether further military actions follow. Energy markets and global trade routes also enter the equation. Any prolonged instability in this region has the potential to disrupt key supply chains, particularly those linked to oil transportation corridors. Even the perception of risk can trigger economic ripple effects far beyond the immediate theater of conflict. Ultimately, this strike represents a convergence of military capability, intelligence, confidence, and political intent. It is not an isolated incident but part of a broader pattern of strategic positioning, where each move is calculated within a larger contest for influence, security, and control. As the situation continues to evolve, the next developments will likely depend on how Iran chooses to respond, whether through direct escalation, indirect pressure, or strategic restraint. Whatever path is taken, the consequences of this operation will extend well beyond the initial explosions, shaping the trajectory of regional stability. In the days ahead, the coordinated strike on dozens of Iranian defensive positions marks a decisive moment in the evolving dynamics of regional conflict. It reflects a deliberate choice by the United States to act with speed, precision, and clear intent, signaling that perceived threats will be addressed before they fully materialize. More than a single action, this operation represents a broader message about readiness, capability, and strategic resolve. At its core, the incident highlights how modern conflict is no longer defined solely by large-scale wars, but by calculated, high-impact actions designed to influence momentum without triggering immediate full confrontation. The ability to execute a synchronized assault of this scale indicates not only technological superiority, but also confidence in intelligence and coordination between allied forces. However, the outcome of this operation cannot be measured only by the damage inflicted. Its true significance lies in what follows. The region now stands at a crossroads where each decision carries amplified consequences. A restrained response could open space for diplomatic recalibration, while any form of retaliation, direct or indirect, may accelerate a cycle of escalation that becomes increasingly difficult to contain. The broader international community will likely intensify efforts to prevent further deterioration, yet their influence remains uncertain in a climate driven by security concerns and strategic interests. As tensions remain elevated, the possibility of miscalculation grows, making the situation more fragile with each passing moment. In the end, this event underscores a fundamental reality. Stability in the region is deeply interconnected with the actions of powerful actors and their allies. What began as a targeted operation now carries implications that extend far beyond its immediate, shaping perceptions, alliances, and the future trajectory of conflict itself. The coming days will be critical in determining whether this moment becomes a turning point toward containment or the beginning of a more expansive and unpredictable phase of confrontation. In the aftermath of the coordinated strikes, attention now shifts from what has happened to what may come next. The operation has reshaped immediate conditions on the ground, but its longer-term impact will be defined by a complex interplay of military decisions, political calculations, and regional reactions. One of the most critical variables is how Iran chooses to respond. Historically, Tehran has demonstrated patience in retaliation, often avoiding direct confrontation in favor of indirect pressure. This could take the form of cyber operations, strategic disruption of supply lines, or the activation of allied groups in multiple. Simultaneously, such an approach allows for deniability while maintaining influence, making the situation harder to predict and contain. For the United States and its partners, maintaining strategic advantage will require constant vigilance. The success of the initial operation may create a temporary sense of control, but it also raises expectations for rapid response should new threats emerge. Military assets in the region are likely to remain on heightened alert, with surveillance and reconnaissance activities intensified to detect any early signs of counteraction. Israel's role will also remain central moving forward, serving as both a strategic partner and a frontline position. Its involvement adds both strength and complexity. Any escalation risks drawing it deeper into a broader confrontation, potentially expanding the scope beyond isolated strikes into sustained engagement. Another dimension that cannot be overlooked is the impact on regional alliances. Countries that have attempted to balance relationships between opposing sides may face increasing pressure to take clearer positions. This could lead to shifts in diplomatic alignment, altering long-standing partnerships and creating new blocs defined by security priorities rather than economic cooperation alone. Global implications are equally significant. Markets tend to react quickly to instability in strategically important, especially those connected to energy production and transportation. Even without direct disruption, uncertainty alone can trigger fluctuations that affect economies far beyond the conflict zone. This places additional urgency on international actors to prevent further escalation. At the same time, there remains a narrow window for diplomacy. Moments of heightened tension sometimes create opportunities for negotiation, particularly if all sides recognize the risks of uncontrolled escalation. Back-channel communications, mediated discussions, and international pressure could still play a role in slowing the momentum. of conflict, though success is far from guaranteed. Looking ahead, the situation is best understood as a delicate balance between deterrence and escalation. Each side will weigh its next move carefully, aware that even a limited action can produce wide-reaching consequences. The presence of advanced military technology, rapid communication, and interconnected alliances means that any shift can unfold quickly and unpredictably. Ultimately, the events following this strike will determine whether the region moves toward stabilization or deeper instability. The path forward will not be shaped by a single but by a of choices made under pressure, where caution and must coexist in an environment defined by uncertainty. The world now watches closely, knowing that the next phase of this unfolding situation may carry consequences far beyond its point of origin.